Hey friend, it's Heidi Rain. Welcome back, or if you're new here, welcome home. Are you in a toxic relationship, or are you dating or in a relationship with a toxic person? I am here to give you seven crystal clear signs. I mean, no confusion. If you have one of these seven things, if you experience one of these seven signs that I'm going to give you, then I'm going to say, faux show. You are in a toxic relationship with a toxic person. It is not normal. It is not okay. It's not that your standards are too high or that you're asking for too much. This person is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, toxitons. Okay. And it's time to make some decisions about what you want to do to move forward. Are you down? I'm excited. Also, this isn't your mama's list. I'm not going to give you a list like, and I have done those before where it's like, okay, well, you're in a toxic relationship if there's control or excessive jealousy or, lots of like traditional things that you would know. These are kind of the more hidden things that relate to how you're feeling and what's happening inside of you on a daily basis to really know. Because sometimes people are exhibiting behaviors that don't tick a box, right? You Google stuff and you're like, are they, um, actually, sign number one, you're with a toxic person. Let's just dive right in. Sign number one, you are with a toxic person or in a toxic relationship is your Google history. Now, if I came to your house and I went and sat with you and looked at your Google history in regard to your relationship, what would we find? We would find things like, am I in a toxic relationship? Because that's what you searched to come to this video. We would probably also find things like signs you're dating a sociopath, or is my partner a narcissist, or is this normal, or what is normal, or what is a healthy relationship, or is this toxic behavior? I mean, you run the gamut, but just think about that for a minute. Just examine your Google history. If you are, my love, spending a lot of time Googling and questioning if something is normal or crazy, I'm going to tell you right now it's crazy. If you have to Google, is your person toxic? They toxic. All right. So already you could stop right here. You could say, oh, well, that's thanks very much. That took about how long? I don't know, 4 minutes, it's 30 seconds rather. Thank you, Heidi. I see the light. I don't need to know the rest of the six because I'm convinced. However, there are lots of you who need a lot of evidence. You maybe stay in relationships too long. You're loyal to a fault. And so you want to hear these other six because you want to make sure it's toxic. I see you. I know. How do I know? I used to be the same way. I only know these seven signs. Let me just reassure you right now. I only know these seven signs because after living such a life of dysfunction and toxicity, coming from that, being born into dysfunction, abuse, addiction, neglect, all a horrible circumstance. I spent my whole life as a young girl and as a young woman wondering what's toxic, what's dysfunctional, and what's normal. And I put up with an awful lot of bad behavior in my life because I wanted to find love. I wanted to be in love. And honestly, my barometer for what was normal was kind of fucked. I had seen some pretty weird, strange stuff go down in the course of my life, and I was very confused. I spent so much time, I spent hours studying borderline personality disorder, narcissistic personality disorder, narcissism, all these things, because I wanted to get a handle and a beat on the people that I was attracted to. I mean, let's be real, right? So I understand where you are. And because I've had enough of that. I had enough of being in relationships that were one-sided, self-destructive, and toxic. And that's really why I first kind of rescued myself out of not kind of, I did rescue myself out of that situation. But now it's my mission in life to help people that are in these toxic dynamics to stop and realize they're in it so they can get out and stop repeating this pattern for the next generation. I saw a video one time on, why do people stay in abusive or toxic relationships? And the answer was at the end of the video, it took me 20 minutes to watch it and found out, here's the answer, because they don't know they're in one. They think of it like it's normal or they're asking for too much or they need evidence and proof. And so they stay there and because they're trying to like mount the evidence and try to see and get enough proof that it's fucked up before they actually go. And that's a self-esteem issue. So if you grew up in addiction or dysfunction or abuse or a shit show, you're going to find yourself in this position. But I'm here to tell you there's a way out. There's a way through. You do not have to keep being in a toxic situation and dynamic. I'm going to give you these signs and then I'm going to tell you what to do if you tick all the boxes and you want to move on and move forward and break free. Okay. The second sign, the first sign is your Google history, what you Googling. Okay. The second sign you're in a toxic or dysfunctional relationship or you're dating a toxic person is you have whiplash. Well, what kind of whiplash, Heidi? Well, emotional whiplash, psychological whiplash, where 1 minute everything is going along great and fine and wonderful. And the next minute you feel kind of blindsided, where you're like, it's hot and cold, it's all or nothing. Now you might be thinking, I just heard somebody say this in my mind as I'm filming this. I just heard somebody say, that's me. I'm the one that's hot and cold. Well, honey, if you spot it, you got it. It's not a judgment. It doesn't matter so much where the toxicity is coming from. Okay. It could be coming from their side or your side. Likely, if you're in a toxic relationship, the toxic is flying two ways. Okay. And we have to be a little toxic to be in the toxic because after a while, the toxic seeps in. You can't be exposed to asbestos and not get sick yourself. Okay. You can't be exposed to lead and not get sick yourself. Toxic people intoxicate the people they're with. And not just because love is blind, right? And you're intoxicated and you don't know, but it intoxicates in the way that makes you sick and toxic. So you're probably behaving toxically too. All right. So maybe it's you. Okay. Well, who cares? It's toxic. Now what? Right. So if emotional whiplash or psychological whiplash is like, what the fuck? What the fuck? Here's psychological whiplash. What the hell just happened? What the hell? I can't tell you how many times in my life that I would be interacting with family when I was growing up. Okay. And I would be in trouble for something or something bad would happen and I would get confronted or punished or whatever. And I would go into my room for hours after that event of being abused or punished or yelled at or screamed at or berated or what have you, and going back into my bedroom and sitting there and going, what the fuck happened? And then going to my third barometer that you're in a toxic relationship, if your primary question over and over again is, what's wrong with me? I would sit in after psychological whiplash or emotional whiplash, I would go into my bedroom and go, what's wrong with me? And now, what's wrong with me in a toxic relationship can look like a lot of different questions you ask yourself. What did I do to deserve that? Where did I go wrong? What did I say to provoke that reaction? What did I do to make them disappear? How did I behave that turned them off? Uh, what did I do to make them not love me today? Um, who do I need to be? Because what's wrong with me? I'm not enough. Who do I need to be in order for them to pick me or act better towards me or be nicer to me? Toxic, toxic, toxic. Now, some level of strategy to figuring out how you can be a better person in life is a wonderful thing. But to sit and ruminate on what's wrong with you is a symptom and a sign that you are in a very horribly so toxic relationship. And it's time to go. All right. So, what was number one? Number one was your Google history, right? What was number two? Number two, I got to remind myself, emotional or psychological whiplash. Number three was you're asking that primary question, what's wrong with me? Number four is you're confused a lot. So if you're maybe you're not asking kind of, those deeper questions on a regular basis, but maybe you're just kind of walking around scratching your head like, huh? Like what? Like what is going on? You spend so much of your time trying to figure somebody out, why they do what they do, how they do what they do, when they do what they do, where they do what they do. You're confused. You're like a private detective trying to figure out what the hell's going on in your relationship. If you have to spend a lot of psychological bandwidth trying to decipher what's going on with somebody, where they're at, why they are the way they are, what they're you're confused about what's going on all the time, that is a toxic relationship. People really aren't that confusing. Healthy people will tell you what they think, where they stand, how they feel. They won't leave you guessing. They won't leave you to figure it out and try to figure out, put all the pieces together. They're pretty upfront. They know how to communicate. They know how to share their emotions and their feelings. Okay. Number five, I think, is if on a regular basis you feel one of these core four negative emotions. If you are with this person, whether you're dating them or in a long term relationship with them or medium term or short term, whatever, you're in a relationship, and on a regular basis, you feel one of these four things: betrayal trauma, where you're like, wait a minute, I just thought you had my best interests at heart, and all of a sudden I've been backstabbed by you or blindsided by you, or you betrayed me in some way. That is not a healthy relationship. That is a toxic relationship. Healthy people don't betray each other. They're very upfront and honest about what they think and feel. They're never coming around the corner. They'll walk right to your face. Okay. They'll say the hard things, right? And let the chips fall where they may, because they know that communication and honesty and transparency and vulnerability is paramount to being seen and loved and heard in an intimate relationship. So betrayal, you feel neglect on a regular basis. Now, well, here's a caveat. If it's easy for you to feel neglected, the first question is, am I neglecting myself? So even this can be both ways. If you feel betrayal in your relationship, it's not just that they're betraying you. Let's back up. It's that you're having self betrayal. If you're having sex when you don't want to, if you're saying yes when you want to say no, if you're giving more than you want to give, if you feel like you're giving in because you're being worn down over and over again, that's betrayal trauma, whether you're being betrayed or you're betraying yourself. Neglect is another symptom you're in a toxic relationship in one of these core four. Either you're neglected all the time or your needs aren't being met. By the way, after you articulate them and tell somebody what you need, they're not meeting them. They're not there for you emotionally, psychologically, mentally, physically, they're not even there. Or you neglect yourself. You lose yourself in relationships and you give everything over into somebody else. Rejection. Either you feel constantly rejected by somebody else, they're not choosing you, they're choosing a substance over you, they're choosing other relationships over you, they're choosing to pursue other addictions over you, they're on their phone 24/7 over you, they're whatever, or you're rejecting yourself. You're in that relationship and you're thinking, I'm a piece of shit. I need to be better. I need to be good so they'll pick me. Or abandonment, where you're being left on a regular basis. You're getting ghosted. You're like, where the hell did they go? Or you're abandoning yourself, what you like, what you think, what you stand for in favor of approval and praise from the person you're with. Toxic, toxic, toxic. And the last one is the last sign that you're in a toxic relationship, clear, surefire sign, is that you find yourself justifying or making excuses for or rationalizing somebody else's bad behavior. So basically, what this means is other people are catching on. People in your life, like your friends, are like, what the fuck's going on here? What the hell? This isn't right. This isn't normal. And you find yourself going, well, but you don't know how they grew up. Yeah, they had a lot of trauma. Nobody really cared for them. They don't mean to be this way. Well, they're just an angry person. They have repressed rage. Like you're unpacking. You're like their psychologist. In the meantime, you're not getting paid. They're not your client. They're your lover, but you're trying to fix them and make sense of them. Right? Toxic. There are so many more, but these seven are a really interesting way to start to think about it. Now, I love these short videos where I can give you little bursts of a lot of information because I know that we don't have a lot of time, right? So I want to do like a drive-by deep dive. Drive-by deep dives are exactly that. It's a drive-by deep dive. It's a drive-by. It's like rapid fire information, but it's a deep dive, and there's lots of things to here to consider. So let's go through them again. Number one, in different order, you're confused a lot. Number two, you have emotional or psychological whiplash. Number three, you feel one of the core four. I call them the core four negative emotions. You feel neglect, betrayal, abandonment, or rejection on a regular basis at the hands of yourself or another person. Number four, your Google history. What are you looking up? Checklists for sociopaths. Okay. Number five, your primary question is, what's wrong with me? I guess, oh shit, is there only six? Oh, maybe there are. Your primary question is, what's wrong with me? Number seven is you justify, or six, you justify, make excuses, or rationalize bad behavior. And I guess if that was only six, let's do one more. The seventh is you just feel like you are. Your intuition is telling you you need to get out. This is not okay. All right. I actually think the seventh one that I didn't write down is probably the most important one is that you get this inner knowing in your gut. You wake up and you feel off. When you're in the presence of this person, you want to feel happy and you want to feel engaged and you want to feel ready to go and you want to feel excited. But instead, you have an emptiness in you and a pull away from this person and a feeling like something's not quite right and your spidey senses are going off. Those are the seven signs. Rewind. Take this drive by deep dive and rewind and listen to it over again. And then here's what to do next. If you feel like you could be in a toxic relationship, then it's time to maybe take the next step and do something about it. All right. Because knowledge without action is useless. Insight without your attention to it is pointless, right? I mean, what are you going to do with this information? Like nothing, right? You're just going to, well, okay, I guess, and go back in for more. Your job in life is not to, you know, figure out how much, I hate to be so gross, but it's true. If life is a buffet, you know, your job isn't to figure out how you can eat more shit, how you can tolerate more, how you can put up with more bad things. Your job is to figure out where the best food is, where the finest food is, where the best nourishment is, and go there instead, not to keep going to the Golden Corral, okay, and expecting your belly not to hurt and be in the bathroom for 4 days. All right? Okay. I love you. Over to HeidiRain.com if you want to take my attachment test that I've developed around toxic attachments, codependent and toxic attachments. You can take the test and see, are you running one of these patterns? Are you the toxic one in the relationship? I don't know. This is a good way to find out. I'll do another video. It's like, are you the toxic one? It's me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me. Does that, so in any case, there's no judgment. I've been very toxic in my life too. So, whether it's us that's toxic and we need healing, or it's another person, the path is still the same. It's over at HeidiRain.com. Check it out over there. Lots of things to do and see, lots of ways to connect with me. And I look forward to seeing you really soon. Take excellent care of yourself and like and subscribe if you got something valuable out of today, and share this with your friends. See ya.